There are tons of ways to make money in real estate, and there are tons of YouTubers. You put that together and you get tons of real estate YouTubers. Have you ever wondered how these famous YouTubers make money in real estate? What their strategies are? That's exactly what I'm going to show you in this video. So I'm going to start off with, I'm not affiliated with any of these YouTubers, and I wouldn't really vouch for them because I don't exactly know if what they're doing is legit. I just know that some of the strategies that they use are valid strategies. So the first YouTuber. Wow, that's a good looking guy. Oh, thank you. I'm just kidding. I'm not famous yet, but I'm a buy and hold investor, and I'm going to tell you more about that later on. So the first person I'm going to talk about is the granddaddy of real estate investing. The first person to bring real estate investing into the mainstream and made the average person aware of real estate investing and personal finance. And that person is Robert Kiyosaki. If you're even vaguely familiar with the personal finance and real estate investing field, you've probably seen or heard of this guy somewhere. He's the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which is one of the best-selling financial information books out there. Now, Robert Kiyosaki didn't go too much into specifics about how he does his real estate investing. He made money in real estate indirectly through his books. So I would put him in the author section. The next person is probably the biggest personal finance and real estate YouTuber out there.
Welcome back to the Graham Stephan Show. My name is Graham and welcome to my show. And today we have a doozy. We have an absolute classic. We have the pinnacle of YouTube viewing experiences.
Graham Stephan. Graham Stephan is a real estate agent, and before he blew up and started making millions of dollars from YouTube ads, he made the bulk of his money from real estate commissions, which is buying and selling properties. So a real estate agent makes money when they buy, sell, or rent a place. If you buy or sell a property, you're usually represented by an agent. So if you're the buyer, you usually have a buyer's agent. If you're the seller, you usually have a seller's agent. The seller usually pays between 4 to 6% of the sales price to the agents. Most of the time, the agents split it half and half. So if the seller is paying a 4% commission, the seller's agent gets 2% and the buyer's agent gets 2%. Now, Graham Stephan is based in California, where houses sell for millions of dollars. So if he sold a $1 million house, 2% of that is $20,000. He spent his first paycheck on a new car, but as he began to make more money as a real estate agent, he started investing in his own real estate. The next person is a loudmouth, in-your-face type of guy. The creator of the 10x rule. 10x your life, 10x your business, 10x your relationship, 10x your eating, 10x your sleep, 10x everything. Grant Cardone makes his money in real estate from syndications. A syndication is where you find a property and then you find a bunch of investors and then you put the deal together. You make money from acquiring the deal, managing the property, as well as selling the property. So for example, he might find a 100-unit apartment complex that costs $200 million. He'll find a bunch of investors, get the down payment for this deal, purchase the deal under a company, and then make a certain percentage of it for himself. Acquisition fee can be 1 or 2%, the selling fee can be another 1 or 2%, and he has the management fee that he makes as the investors hold on to the property. So you can imagine how much money he makes from a multi-million-dollar property. Next guy, Kevin from Meet Kevin.
What's up, everybody? It's Kevin here, and I am back.
Kevin is a real estate investor that dabbled in pretty much everything. He was a licensed contractor, he's a real estate agent, and he's also a buy and hold investor that specializes in value add real estate. Out of this list, his strategy is probably the one that's the most similar to mine. So the buy and hold strategy is basically you buy a property and you hold it. You rent it out and you collect checks every single month. The value add portion comes in where you buy a property for a certain price point, say $500,000. You use $100,000 to fix it up, so you're into the deal $600,000, but after you fixed it up, it's worth $700,000. In that scenario, you have a $100,000 wedge. You've made $100,000 just from doing the work. This is a more long-term play because you don't actually get that money until you sell years down the line. But it's a great way to build up your net worth, and as long as your rents cover your mortgage, you're building up a lot of equity over time. Next is Tarek and Christina from Flip or Flop, the HGTV show.
Tarek El Moussa.
The one and only.
And Christina Anstead are back in business for an all-new Flip or Flop.
Nothing compares years to working with your ex.
What could possibly go wrong?
Well, technically they're not YouTubers, but Tarek does have a small YouTube channel with a couple thousand subscribers. I just wanted to go over them because they're very famous for their house flipping. House flipping is basically finding a house, fixing it up, and then instead of holding it and renting it out, you just sell it immediately for a profit. This is probably the most talked about form of real estate investing because there's a ton of TV shows about house flipping. Next is Max Maxwell. Wow, that's kind of hard to say. Max Maxwell makes his money from wholesaling real estate. Wholesaling in real estate is where you find a property, put that property under contract, and then sell the contract itself to an investor. You don't actually buy the property, you just assign the contract to the next investor. So basically how this works is you find a house. Let's say you convince the owner to sell it to you for $100,000. So you sign a contract with that seller that you're gonna purchase the property for $100,000. Then you go to an investor and say you have this property, it's a great deal. You sell this contract to that investor for $120,000. Now then you assign the contract to the investor. So you don't personally buy the property and then you make the difference. So in that example, you made $20,000 from that deal. Now you gotta be really careful with this one because this might not be legal in many states. In a lot of states, if you're not a real estate agent, then you can't advertise a property for sale. So going to an investor and trying to sell that property to them might not be legal. Now people get around that, and this is a very gray area, by saying that they're not advertising the property, they're advertising the contract. But yeah, definitely I wouldn't take the risk. If you are a real estate agent, then this is definitely illegal because this is something called a net listing. A net listing is basically you going to a seller and telling them that you're going to sell their property for a certain price. And then if you sell it at a higher price, you can keep the difference. This is illegal, at least in New York State. I'm not entirely sure about all the other states, but definitely in New York, this is illegal. To me, wholesaling is pretty unethical because it feels like you're taking advantage of the seller. So I personally wouldn't do something like that. But others would argue that, oh, you're helping them sell a property that they otherwise wouldn't be able to sell. It's also one of the most popular things that people advertise to new investors because you don't actually need any of your own money to wholesale. You're not buying the property, you're simply putting it into contract. So you might only have to pay a few $100s for the lawyer's fee. Next is Phil. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce this last name because I know I'm gonna butcher it. But what he does is teach real estate.
Is a real estate investing mentor right for you? Hi, I'm Phil Pustiovsky with freedommentor.com. I'm a full-time real estate investor, real estate mentor to many of the market-leading, most successful real estate investors across North America, best-selling author of the book, How to Be a Real Estate Investor. My YouTube channel is the #1 channel for real estate investing in the world.
He offers a mentorship program, and that's how he makes his money. Basically, what he does is teaches people how to invest in real estate. Personally, I'm very skeptical about these programs because they usually cost tens of thousands of dollars, and you don't exactly know what you're getting out of it until you actually do the program. There are always mixed reviews for some of these things, and you don't really know what's true and what's false. So personally, I'm very skeptical about this sort of stuff. Next is Sean from Airbnb Automated.
My name is Sean Rakicic. I took less than $4,000. I invested it into real estate, and I now have a portfolio of 100 income properties that are all on Airbnb, cash flowing me millions of dollars per year.
What Sean does is called rental arbitrage. So what rental arbitrage is you rent properties normally, like you sign a 12-month lease, and then what you do is furnish those apartments and then rent those apartments out as short-term rentals on Airbnb. The per night price for an Airbnb is usually higher than what you would pay if you rented that apartment for the entire year. He just pockets the difference. Again, before you try doing something like that, you need to check if it's legal in your city. And also you need to make sure that the landlord is okay with you doing that. Because a lot of the times it's stated in the lease that you're not allowed to do that. So you need to make sure you're protecting yourself and making sure that all of this stuff is legal and allowed under the lease. Next, Morris Invests. Morris got popular because he was actually a news anchor for Fox, I believe.
I've decided after 18 years in broadcast television, I didn't think I was going to do this, that today will be my last day.
What he does is turnkey real estate. Turnkey real estate is basically a property that an investor can buy and then just rent out and not have to do anything from day one. So what a turnkey real estate company does is they buy properties, they fix it up, then they put a tenant in there, and then they sell that property to an investor. Now, I know a lot of companies do this, and people do actually make money from investing in turnkey real estate, but Morris Invest actually got into a lot of trouble recently because what I heard was he was taking money from investors and then not delivering the property as he promised. There was some story about him selling a house to somebody, but it turns out that the house was never built and that person just got a piece of land. Morris claims that it was because one of their partners kind of skipped out on him and didn't build the house. So Morris Invest, I don't know if he's legit, but turnkey property, if you get it from a reputable source, can be a good option if you don't really want to be involved in the whole fixing up and renting out process. The next person is Chris Crone.
My name is Chris Crone. I'm a real estate investor who's done thousands of deals. I'm a best-selling author of several books, a business coach, a breakthrough mentor, and I believe that you can have it all.
Chris Crone basically does the same thing as Morris Invests, where he offers turnkey properties. But what he does different is he offers like a partnership deal. I'm not sure about the exact numbers, but what I heard is his company would do a deal with you and then he'll own 50% and you'll own 50%. Basically, he takes your money and then invests it for you. That's his business model. Again, personally, I'm not keen on giving somebody else my money and then having them invest for me when I can just do it myself. I don't exactly know if all these people are legit, so you need to do your own research. The last person I'm going to talk about is Samuel Leeds.
Samuel Leeds here, hope you're well guys, and in this video I'm going to share with you 4 ways that you can buy property without using any of your own money.
Samuel Leeds specializes in lease options and owner financing. A lease option is a type of contract where you basically rent a property from an owner and then you have an option to buy that property at a set price after a certain amount of time. So what he does is he leases properties, rents them out, and then holds them for several years. And then after that time period ends, he'll either decide to buy it or just give up the contract and give the property back to the owner. So an example of this is he can rent a property for $2,000 and then in the contract it states that in 5 years he can buy this property for $100,000 from the owner. And then he takes that same property and rents it to somebody else for $2,500. So he makes $500 a month. And if in 5 years the market went up and the property is worth more than $100,000, he'll buy it. And then if the property value goes down, then he just won't exercise his option. Owner financing is when you buy a property, but you get the owner to give you a loan. So basically the owner will act like the bank in this scenario. And instead of making monthly payments to the bank, you make monthly payments to the owner. This can be beneficial to the owner because some owners don't want to buy something else, so they don't want a 1031 exchange, but they also don't want to pay that huge tax bill. So instead of getting one large lump sum at one time, they get a couple $1,000s every single month. Personally, I've never done something like this, but I've heard stuff like this is possible. If you find this video interesting, please hit the thumbs up. I really appreciate it.